Today we're joined by Beau, and we're gonna talk about a very special topic. We're gonna talk about the ancient tragedy by Sophocles called Antigone. Now, we did Oedipus Rex on Symposium 44, and I saw on the comments, I think Texas Gal told us to do Antigone, and it was sort of the natural progress. I think we would do it if it went well, and I think it did well. And I must say, I really enjoy this tragedy.
Yeah, I mean, it's a classic, isn't it? It's an absolute classic. I think of the three Theban plays, Oedipus Rex and Antigone are like clearly the best two. Oedipus Colonus or Oedipus at Colonus is sort of fairly clearly the weakest of the three. Yeah, Antigone. I think I might be wrong about this, but I think Antigone's had a bit of a renaissance in the second half of the 20th century.
I think so,
little bit.
Yes.
Because Antigone is like not a girl boss, but she's a very, very strong female figure.
What I really like about it is that I think it destroys the narrative that the ancient Western civilization was entirely misogynistic. Staged around 441 BC,
right?
And it was received very positively. And many people say that Sophocles was a general.
Yeah,
and was voted a general, I think, in 441, somewhere there. And along with Pericles and some other Athenian generals, were entrusted with putting down the revolt of the Samians, I think, people from Samos. And a lot of people say that Sophocles' reputation was kind of based on that play. But what we need to say is that
he became very famous in his own lifetime.
Yes,
oh, yeah.
I think he wrote somewhere around 120 plays, and only very few, we know of very few of them, and I think only 7 survive. There is the myth of Oedipus, and people who watched the play already knew the myth, and Antigone was the daughter of Oedipus, one of his 2 daughters. So what happened was that Oedipus, you can definitely freshen your memory or check Symposium 44 for Oedipus Rex, that Oedipus was a tragic figure who was king of Thebes, who you could say out of no fault of his own. That's debatable, but in a way, his fate was such that he ended up doing something that he tried to avoid doing. He basically slept with his mother, and
killed his father.
Yeah. So out of his marriage with Queen Jocasta, he had 4 children: Eteocles, Polynices, Antigone, and Ismene. The 2 brothers were having a row, were having sort of a quarrel for who was going to be king of Thebes. Eteocles was the person who sided with the Thebans and Creon at the time, and Polynices was siding with those in Argos. And what happened was that there was a large battle with, I think, 7 generals from each side. Polynices was coming with the armies of Argos to lay siege to Thebes, and Eteocles was leading the Thebans against Polynices. And
so there's an element of Theban civil war there.
Yes.
Some people say, it's Argos versus Thebes, but it's sort of actually more like a Theban civil war.
Yes.
Or a war between these 2 brothers in some level.
Yes.
Because there's also Oedipus's brother, Creon.
Yes.
That we have to mention straight away.
And we also have to mention that this was very frequent in ancient Greece. That was essentially the home of various city-states, and within each city-state there were, you could say, factions that were partial to other city-states. So for instance, you could say that in Athens there was frequently a contingent of Athenians that were really fond of Sparta.
Yeah, Antigone is King Creon's niece.
Yes.
Right, yeah.
So what happens is that the stage 1 starts with Antigone calling Ismene, that is her sister, outside the gate of Thebes. Antigone says that Creon is about to punish anyone who will give proper burial to Polynices.
who was sort of the rebel one of these two brothers.
Yes,
right.
Because he sees him as a traitor.
Yeah.
And Antigone thinks that this is essentially something that she cannot bear. And this is sort of tragic. And she says that, I can't bear this. I won't do it. I will go and bury my brother.
Antigone says, look, that's against what the gods want.
Yes.
That's just wrong.
Yes.
It's morally wrong. It's all sorts. It's like irreligious.
Yes.
It's against the old ways, the ancient ways. Now, and she has sort of a will of iron.
Yes.
She will not give up that idea, that concept, even if it costs her own life.
She wants to die a glorious death, and also to honor her brother.
Mm. King Creon has said that anyone that does bury him is the death penalty for you.
Yes.
So sorry, we need to make that clear.
Yes, yes.
So that's why she's sort of martyring herself.
That's the issue. From Antigone's perspective, Creon is violating the laws of Zeus.
Mm-hmm.
From Creon's perspective, his decrees are in accordance with the laws of Zeus. He will change his mind very late.
Mm-hmm.
But that is interesting because a lot of people have said that this is one way of representing it as not so much the idea of the laws of the city and the laws of the gods. That's for Antigone. But for Creon, the tragedy is not exactly that. For Creon, the tragedy is lack of wisdom.
Yeah, if you think about it, the original sin, it's not really the right expression, but the original sin of Oedipus attempting to avoid his fate of sleeping with his own mum and killing his father, that's sort of the original sin, the original issue. And from that led not only to the deaths and the misery that is in the play Oedipus Tyrannus and Oedipus himself blinding himself and by this point being dead himself, but it's sort of been the tragedy has been passed down through the family that now two of his sons are dead because of it in a way.
Yes.
And the tragedy continues throughout this play as well.
To watch the full video, please become a premium member at lotuseaters.com.